Hey everyone, you might be wondering why I'm even covering this in the first place, but I wanted to cover this because for the Christian, I think the correct Christian response to this is to say that Ninja here is actually right. And I want to take a look at all the people who are responding to Ninja in a negative way because it just goes to show the lengths at which people in the secular world, people in the left-wing bubble, it just demonstrates that even though they can see the clear biological and sociological differences between men and women, these folks will actively deny what they see with their own eyes, and they will absolutely lambaste and bully anyone who calls out their insanity. So let's actually take a look at the clip in question. And if you are a Christian watching this video, I want you to actually think about it and reflect on whether whatever Ninja is saying is actually wrong.
Like, I don't tell you, I don't do that. I go out of my way to make sure that I am never even alone in another room with a woman. Ever in any moment. Like, even like my PR person, like it doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if they work for me, whatever, bro. There is someone else in that room with me at all times. If we're alone, I leave instantly. That's on like fidelity, right?
All right. So again, for the Christian, literally, is there anything wrong with what he's just said there? And no, there isn't. And it's not out of some sexist belief that all women are these incredibly hypersexual beings for which the man has to defend oneself and one's mind to resist the advances of all the temptresses, I should say, around them. This idea is to not be alone in a room with a woman is simply to create a physical barrier to stop situations of abuse from happening in the first place. It is an incredibly wise thing to do. For the Christian, right, temptation is right at the door. The Bible says this multiple times. Do not deceive yourself that you are somehow resistant to it because we live in a fallen world. We live in a broken world. I want to read 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8, which encourages us to be alert, be of sober mind, I should say. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And again, I repeat this, that this isn't out of a desire to restrict women or to discriminate against them, because I think you do this out of wanting to create physical boundaries between you and the other person so that you don't get tempted and the other person is also protected from it. We're also going to look at some of the pushback against this. And again, I think it's a reflection of how leftists truly do not believe in any distinction between men and women. And to practice this, to intentionally not be alone with a person of the opposite gender, is done out of a recognition that you still have an intrinsic biological impulse that causes you to find other people as attractive. And when you're doing this, you are making sure that temptation doesn't even get the chance to progress into sin. It's meant to be a safety mechanism for you and to also keep the other person safe. So,
as for anything else, dude, it just, I don't DM anyone, bro. I DM my boys. Like, I DM like guys in the community. No, there's no private messages going on with any girls. If there are, it's like someone like Chica or like, you know, just like people in the space. And then I let my wife know. And then as for like people that I know, bro, if I don't know you, I'm not DMing you. I don't want to get to know you, dude. I don't want to find out you're only 17. Like,
I mean, and like it's smart and it's wise, and it's like, in a world in which, right, where you can hide your identity, right, and you can hide your age, for a guy like him, you don't want to be in a Dr. Disrespect situation, right? You don't want to be in a Chris Tyson situation, right, where you find out the guy that, or the person you're actually talking to is underage, and then you go through this long and protracted legal battle where you find out, oh no, because like it's a good safety mechanism to protect you from sin, and it's not only that. It's not only a good safety mechanism to stop you from being tempted, but it's a good safety mechanism for which that these accusations and these allegations don't even occur in the first place, right? And again, people will say like, oh, you should just be normal. But I think it just goes to show that the leftist does not understand the rate at which the world is so broken. And I think for the, like, even in Christian circles, right, there are women who I DM, right, but it's only because I already know them. There's a closeness and friendship and closeness in relationship. And I'm not married yet, but I think for the married person, right, like I've heard this advice over and over again, like from people like Isaac David and other people who are married Christians as well. But I think if your wife does not know of a female friend that you may have, I don't think you have any business to go out to a female friend while you are already married to someone, right? And again, it's not just to say like, oh, you shouldn't have female friends out, right? I think it is a good thing to have female friends, but at the same time, you should be careful in trying not to create temptation and trying not to cause yourself to sin, right? And all of your whole community circle and your own friendship circle should be known to your wife, just as you should know the friends that your wife has or your girlfriend has. Like, you, even if you're just dating, right, at a lower level, I think you should try to make an active effort to also be in the community and also have the same sort of friendships, or like try to engage with the friends of your significant other rather than like not making an effort at all. Because yeah, these are good and healthy things, and there's a reason why we do it, and it's purely out of safety, and it's purely so that you aren't caused to stumble. And yeah, of course, if you are a Christian, hopefully Christ has worked in your life to transform your heart from not having even with that, right? Because I think there is a beautiful thing when Jesus does work in the life of the Christian's heart can be like your desires can be changed to mirror more like Jesus. And hopefully you won't be ever in a situation where you are tempted. But at the same time, the Bible does, like, that can be true, right? It is true that Jesus changes our heart and our desires and our outlook on sin. But at the same time, temptation is also at the door. And the Bible tells us that if someone says they are without sin, they are lying, right? So yeah. It's purely out of safety. It's just a good physical barrier to have. And we're just going to see some of the negative responses as well to this, because they are kind of cringe. So you'll notice with a lot of these responses, a lot of them are ad hominem attacks. A lot of them are super cringe. And you'll see what I mean. So with this first one, his wife has trust issues. He basically confirmed it without confirming it. No, he just doesn't trust himself after already cheating. And again, these are just ad hominem attacks against, oh, your wife has trusted. No, it's not that. It's just that there is a very special place for male to female relationships. And you should do your best to engage them in a way that, because let's say, you're married, like for Ninja who is married, if you're making an effort not to be alone in a room with a person of the opposite gender and you are married, you are sending a message to that person that, hey, I'm taken and we shouldn't be having these sorts of conversations together. You know what I mean? And I think it's not that his wife is insecure. It's just that these are just things keep safe. And these are just things to be these are just wise things to do altogether. Ninja ain't trying to get caught up in any allegations. I'm never alone in a room with another woman. We know, bro. That's actually pretty funny, not gonna lie, but still, again, it's sort of these ad hominem attacks. Does he not trust himself? And I think like the sort of idea, oh, you just don't, like, you're a sinful person. But I think that's just the reality of all of us. And if we are going to say that, oh, we are without sin, I think it is an incredibly unwise thing to do. And of course, you shouldn't trust yourself. I'm sure for everyone, and for this person as well, I'm sure they have desires that they know that they're probably going to act on, and they don't have self-control, because us as humans, we don't have self-control. Outside us, apart from Jesus, we literally do not have self-control, and we are going to fall into sin. We are going to do all of those things apart from Jesus. So you should do things which are just wise, right? So this one's, or I shouldn't say right-wing response, but this is more like a alpha male response, I should say. So beta mentality: learn to control your impulses and be honest in everything that you do with your partner, and you won't have this fear. And I think, again, it's not just like there's a fear of the Lord. Like, obviously, like, Ninja's not Christian, but for the Christian, right, there's a righteous fear of the Lord that we should have, and there is a righteous right fear of sin that we should have and should adopt in terms of just moving forward and all of these things. So yeah, a bro is paranoid for real. And how are these guys so unpopular, so nerdy? It's insane nerd. And again, like, it's these it's these sorts of responses from people who are, I'm assuming, like, these sorts of people are sexually promiscuous. So again, it's like an indication of like the leftist worldview, in which they don't believe in like a separation between the sexes, and they believe that sex isn't just a special thing for your wife, and it's just something that you should do with everyone. And yeah, it's an indication of the leftist mindset of that. This is weird. Totally healthy relationship, lol. Imagine being this insecure about your relationship. And again, it's these sorts of things that, no, it's not about insecurity. It is just you are sending a message to people. You are sending a message to the person of the opposite gender that, yeah, no, I want to keep my marriage pure, and I don't want any space. Like, the Bible talks about this, right? Which is, if you give in to temptation, it will lead to sin, right? Any temptation that you have, anything that comes to your mind, you need to cut it off immediately, right? And you just need to stop it there before it grows on to something bigger. I think we, like, people talk about this when people talk about like pornography and things like that. And the way that pornography starts isn't when you actively search out for it. There's a certain mindset, and I can attest to this as well. There's a certain place that one finds themselves in. It can just start as if you're just scrolling on social media and then you just see a scantily clad woman, right? And that's why I'm trying not to be on social media anymore, because it's those sorts of things that I can't really control on my feed. And it starts these thought patterns in the mind, and it can result in you like just, it builds up more and more and more, and it can lead to sin, right? So yeah, it's wild how many dudes think it's normal to treat women like this, like they're succubus temptresses you can never be alone with, rather than, I don't know, treat them as like regular human beings. And I think, like, of course, women are like regular human beings, but it's, again, you need to recognize that there is a biological impulse that you have in yourself that if you do find someone attractive, right, that can be a cause for temptation. And I think in times, especially if you are struggling in your marriage, right, it's those sorts of things that you should already create these barriers. You should create these physical barriers, not only to keep yourself safe, but also to keep your spouse safe as well. So it's these sorts of things that, of course, women are regular people, but at the same time, you can't just say that there is no difference between male and female relationships. Contrary to popular belief, you can be in the same room with a woman without cheating on your wife. And this is weird. Men treat women like people challenge. Again, like, we are treating them like people. It's just that in this particular scenario, you don't want to be creating an environment in which you can be caused to sin. Like, it's the same thing as like, if you are walking out at night, you probably shouldn't be walking out at night. You know why? It's probably because you're more likely to be assaulted, right? And it's not your fault that you walked out at night, but at the same time, you should make wise decisions and you should make wise choices so that these sorts of situations that you find yourself in are less likely to occur. I don't get the male outlook that you can't be friends with women. Are these people so uncomfortable with themselves you cannot be alone in a room with a woman? Is it just sexism, or am I insane? And no, it's not sexism, right? You know that you have biological impulses, and because of that, you should stop having them, basically. That's kind of the point. It's not out of sexism. It's just that there's a reason why we have them. All of these recent allegations about people unfortunately texting minors, right? The reason why those things happened is because those guys did not have, like, people like Chris Tyson and people like Dr. Disrespect. The reason why those things happened was because they did not set up proper boundaries with other people. It's not out of a heart of sexism. It's just out of a heart of wanting to protect one's marriage, right? And I think that's the heart of it. It's not out of sexism, right? It's out of wanting to maintain the sanctity of marriage, which obviously leftists don't care about. So yeah. All right, fellas, all you need to do is not sexually harass people, not sexualize people who don't want to be sexualized, respect boundaries, protect the innocence of their more impressionable demographics. That's it. No need to treat children and women like nuclear material. Chill. And it's not that, right? Again, like, I've already said this before, I won't say it again. So I'll end with this one, which is ninja blink 3 times if the wife has a gun to your head off camera. And that's actually pretty funny. So again, I'm going to highlight some of the more positive responses because these guys know what's happening. And like, these are actually smart people. With someone as well known and wealthy as Ninja, it would be so easy for any random woman to claim just about anything she wants. He's smart to protect himself. And again, like, these are good sentiments, right? It's actually very smart on his part. He is very famous. And if he was ever alone with a woman like that, it would be their word against him. So why even put yourself in that situation? And again, like, I think this is the situation that we find ourselves in the modern day, right? Which is like, if there is one woman who just said something bad about you, people will side with the woman. And it's like, people talk about sexism, right? But that is literally the environment that we find ourselves in. And of course, it is a good thing that people are coming out to speak out against like sexual abuse and things like that. But again, like, that's the situation we find ourselves in. So for the guy, of course, you want to make these physical boundaries, because if someone accuses, like, if a woman accuses something about you, that people will side with the woman. And that's just the way the world works. Like, don't try to deny it, because we see this time and time again. Even with the George Not Found situation, right? Like, even though the person who accused, the girl who accused George Not Found was wrong in the end, it just goes to show that people will just side with him, and like, your reputation will be absolutely destroyed as a result. So yeah, he's loyal to his wife. Actual rare Ninja W. Ninja is being a loyal husband, and people try to find a way to clown him for it. Losers, and maybe God would be with him. And like, it is so good that even in light of all of these negative responses, that there are people who are being actually supportive. Completely makes sense for someone famous not to want to be alone with a woman, even if nothing happens, even if it's not the woman that says it. Allegations spread faster than wildfire, and it can shut doors quick, even if proven untrue. Just common sense, lol. Ninja, I don't want to find out that you're only 17. Dr. Disrespect, I found out that she's already 17. I'm not a fan of Ninja, and I think he's super annoying, but he nailed this one. My wife and I are the same. Marriage isn't for everyone, but if you want it to work, this is the best way to protect your egg. And yeah, that's so true. It's sad to see if the genders were flipped, people would be supporting Ninja instead of clowning. If you have a good wife who supports you, who willfully and purposely follows you, this is your obligation. So, and I'll end it with these two. So, I cannot appreciate the postmodernist society unable to grasp how not being in a room alone with another woman reduces the chances of anything happening to absolute zero. It's like abstinence, another term society doesn't understand. And it's not just fidelity, it's smart because he'll never catch false allegations doing this. You can't even compliment a woman these days without it being seen as harassment. And like, yeah, as I said, it's so good that a bunch of people report like supporting him at the same time. Like, it just goes to show, like, the people who are being negative, like who have shown negative responses, just goes to show society, like the West has truly fallen, because it's these sorts of boundaries between men and women, and it's these sorts of things like the sanctity of marriage and abstinence and having boundaries in terms of when it comes to sex, and it's indicative of the lifestyle that leftists have. And yeah, then it just goes to show that Ninja on this one, that's kind of a W. So if you are interested in more of my content, I actually do more anime reviews, so if you want to watch them, you might want to watch my review on Kaiju number 8, because that's a cool Christian anime. What's a Christian anime in the first place? You might want to take a look at this playlist here, because I do Christian anime reviews. Okay, see ya.